Hello YouTube. Hello, this is T and Drum with another episode. Today, what do I want to talk about? I don't know. Being able to contribute or feeling like you can't, and why that might be for different people. Some people might feel like they're not as smart as people around them. Others might feel like they're not as funny as the people around them, and so on. So it's all these comparisons that you make, and it's like we think we have to be better than other people to be of any value to them. And I don't know if that's because of like video games or school, because it's like we have all these categories and then we get a rating in each of the categories. Like in a video game, you want to get your health and your skill and your resources, all those levels. You want to keep getting all of those levels higher. And in school, you have 6 different classes. You want to get good grades in all of those. So we're constantly being rated, and we're our own worst critic. We're constantly striving to be better, and a lot of the time we're striving to be better than. So we're trying to be, more funny than other people, more smart than other people. And we're constantly evaluating how we stand in relation to other people. And I honestly think that's fine as long as it doesn't control you. Because there's always going to be people that are smarter. There's always going to be people that are funnier. And that's okay. And then you're always going to be smarter or funnier than someone else or someone else. So it's like, what's the problem? The problem, I guess, is that we look down on ourselves if we're not as good as someone else. And then we get some sick pleasure out of being smarter or funnier than someone else. So either way you're losing, and either way it comes from the same thing, which is misplaced pride. I think there's only 2 categories of pride. Just pride that's good and wholesome. Maybe that's the thing. If people don't have that pride, the good, wholesome pride that you deserve and that you should have for yourself, then you're going to go to the comparative pride. And if you don't have that good, wholesome pride in yourself that you deserve, then you're gonna constantly be looking for the comparative pride, and when that happens and someone's better than you, then you're gonna flip out and then beat yourself up and then look for someone that you're better than to boost yourself up again. And it's like white knuckling the whole day. Like you constantly have this feeling that you're like just gonna make it, like you're just gonna pass the test that you put on yourself because you've been trained to put it on yourself. You've been conditioned to do that. And I think that school, sports, and video games I think video games are awesome, don't get me wrong, but like anything you do is going to condition you. Like we look for patterns, and we like to compare things to each other. We like to, it's not that we like to compare things to each other, it's that we like to be able to apply wisdom from something to other things. Like we want to have like everything figured out. It's just an instinct. We want to kind of have things figured out. So we're like, okay, I'll apply this skill that I picked up in this video game to, passing my music test or whatever it is. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with looking for patterns and being conditioned. But I think if you're gonna be conditioned to anything, you should be aware of it. And if you're a parent and you have a kid, then you should be aware of the conditioning that kid is getting, because he's not old enough to notice it. So, yeah, this is a message to parents, and then it's a message to anyone old enough to be conscious of the effect that their actions are taking on themselves. So, yeah, people aren't even aware of how they're measuring themselves. So there's the inner critic, like saying, oh, you're not good enough in general, or like, but I think that comes from comparing yourself to other people. And most of the stupid fucking comedy shows that get popular for some reason we'll not go into that. I mean, basically, I feel like it's just because the media will play to your instincts, and part of your instinct is to kind of see how you can fit in. So they'll play on that with all these shows, and the shows will basically, you're watching that show, and in your mind you're kind of judging each of the characters, seeing how you are similar to them in ways that could make you more popular, basically, popularity. So all the characters are in a popularity contest, and based on whatever standards are in that show, you're going to be judging yourself later that day. There's no way you're not going to be, unless you're like super aware of all this stuff, which I doubt most people are. Maybe they are, and they just don't even think about it because they're good. Like, they're not crazy and always comparing themselves to other people, so they just can laugh at the show. But I'm not like that. I can't. It's crazy, dude. I have to be so careful what I watch and what type of music I listen to, because I'm not at the point where I can separate myself from what I'm hearing or seeing to the point where I'm like, I'm good, like, I'm gonna see what this person has to say, but I'm not like looking to them to help boost up myself in the eyes of my own inner critic, which comes from me trying to boost myself up in the eyes of others. So it's a natural instinct to want to fit into a group and to be respected and admired. And there's a wholesome pride that comes along with that, that's based in somewhat more of a reality than the dumb popularity contests that are extremely superficial and damaging to young people especially. And I think a lot of the problem is with getting this message out is that a lot of people that have been doing it are doing it in very unskillful ways. Like you have the parent who is not very self-aware and still acts in these ways that they're always comparing themselves and judging themselves neurotically because they always care what other people think about. And B, they're doing it in such a way that just turns the kid off. They're like, oh, these people, they're immoral and they should be more like me. That's not gonna help. That's not gonna help. And basically, anything you try to tell them will be whitewashed by your own patterns that are unhealthy, that you're not even aware of, or don't even want to be aware of. So now, I guess slowly there are sane and humble people that are spreading a message that goes something more like this. You get to decide how your inner critic is going to talk to you to a much larger degree than even your parents do. So with that in mind, do you want to be constantly obsessing over how you don't measure up to these standards that most people seem to be agreeing on? Do you want to always be measuring yourself up against other people to standards that may not be really wholesome or meaningful or based in reality, but are more based in this agreed upon reality that most people seem to be living in? And maybe it's not that most people are even living in it, it's just that the media makes it look that way, because the majority of TV shows out there, at their base, they're playing upon this instinct to want to be popular. Even in the crime shows or the nursing shows that are also popular, like it's all about your place in the group. And again, that's a natural instinct to want to know kind of your place in the group, to want to have a place in the group. And the TV shows will make you think that if you don't jump through the hoops, that you're not going to have a place in the group. And maybe that's true, but is that a group you want to be in, where everyone's pretending to pretending to have desirable traits when what they're really doing is putting on an image that is completely based on like unreal desirable traits. Like you can actually be, really tasteful and value like, beauty, and you can appreciate, how you look, actually appreciate it and be confident in it. Or you can cover yourself up with, whatever clothes are in or whatever makeup is in, or whatever it is that you may not even like. So it's like, okay, I look right, according to the TV commercials that are making money, but I don't actually like how I look. I actually hate how I look. And I'm not a girl, and I know it's more affecting of girls, but guys have the thing too of where they're trying to get huge muscles Um, but that's a whole nother thing, because that's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of between guys, I guess. That's like a competition between guys. Because I think they know that not all girls are into like massive muscles that you're like, whoa, that guy like works out. I don't know. Everyone's different, but yeah, it's like you're playing this game to win at this game when it might get you a place in the group, but it's like a it's like a facade group. It's like that group is not joined together by mutual respect and trust and friendliness. It's a group. It's based on the category of the hoops that they've all jumped through. So it's no one trusts each other, no one actually respects or admires each other. Everyone's doing things just out of fear, basically, of not fitting in. And that's how those people are all similar and connected. Whereas they could actually be connected by understanding each other, respecting each other, and understanding and respecting themselves. I don't know how to communicate that to a 5-year-old. Probably by example, parents. Maybe you should think about the example you're setting by your actions, instead of just blurting out quotes that you read in some parenting book because you're not confident in your own ability to lead. I mean, good Lord, parents. You think kids are a lot dumber than they actually are. They pick up on more than you realize. It's like you're telling your kid to be nice and smile at strangers, but then he hears you bickering all night. You tell your kid, oh, you can be whatever you want to be, and then he hears you constantly complaining about money. You tell your kid, oh, get a job, a good job, high-paying job, so that you'll be happy, and he sees you with that good, high-paying job, and you're never happy. What's going on with that, parents? What's the point of having all this money? I don't know. Maybe I sound like a little spoiled brat, and I know I am kind of spoiled. I can remember times when my grandma and my mom spoiled me, let me not do as many chores or like stuff like that. But honestly, what's the point of having all this money when you're just gonna live in constant stress? And what's the point of having kids if you don't even know how to love yourself? I think it's good that there's so many people on YouTube that are talking about narcissism and faulty parenting tactics, because it's so validating as a young man to be watching videos of people talking about the same type of struggles they went through in regards to their parents, the mixed messages they got from their parents, the unhealthy things that their parents did, and how their actions didn't line up with their words, and how the things they were afraid of you becoming are the things that they're doing as well, and they don't even realize it. That's a trip. I don't know what to say, man. I really don't. I'm not a parent. I'm glad that I'm not, because I would not be able to. I would not be able to. What would I not be able to do as a parent? How would I fail the kid? How would I neglect a kid if I had one? I don't know. But the parents out there should have asked themselves that before they had sex. And people need to ask themselves that before they get married too. 50% of marriages end in divorce. 50%, dude. I mean, Jesus. Yeah. And yet people, I don't know, are less people getting married these days? Probably. That's a good thing. But the amount of kids out there that don't have parents, it's like, dude, if you're not ready for a kid, don't fuck. Or at least take the necessary precautions. You shouldn't be fucking someone that you don't have a connection with anyway. But everyone, that's another thing. It's not only the pleasure of fucking, it's like the ego boost. Cause you're like, oh yeah, like I'm having sex, you know, that makes me a normal person in this society. And then there's the flip side, which is like, oh, I haven't had sex in a year. Oh my God, like, what's wrong with me? Dude, come on. Come on. It's not that you want to have sex, it's that, oh, if I don't lose my virginity, I'm not cool. How dumb can you fucking be? I wonder if your parent taught you how to love yourself, at least by leading by example. Because if you actually knew your worth, the last thing you'd be thinking about was having sex so that my friends think I'm cool. Those are not your friends. Those are people who say you're their friends. Those are people who you think are your friends, but they are not your friends. How many people are in friendships that are just not even real? They think they're friends, but their friends don't have their best interests in mind, and you don't have your friend's best interests in mind, and you're both using each other. How many friendships end in divorce? Or how many friendships just go on forever and they're not actually, how many friendships, I mean to say, just go on forever and they're just both tricking each other? But they're never gonna think about that stuff. I think that's where stuff like things that will open your mind will get you to see. But of course, those are frowned upon, and people don't know how to use them anyway. Again, that's another thing that people do to be cool and to fit in. So, if you're doing something because you think it'll make you look cool, then think again, okay? Don't be a fucking dumbass. Alright? Can you do that? Can you tell your inner critic that it's okay if this person doesn't think I'm cool? I don't have to be a slave to what I think that person thinks of me. Because he's probably a fucking liar, and he's just gonna tell you whatever he thinks you want to hear him say he thinks about you. We're all playing these mind games and we're fucking ourselves up the ass. And we need to stop. I'm trying to stop. I still do it. I do it every day. But I'm trying. I'm tired of being a slave in a country that's supposed to be free. You know? Everyone's talking about rights. We have rights, but you take away your own rights every time you judge yourself based off of false standards. False standards of fear.